as head of Twitter ends with 57.5% voting yes after Musk said Twitter polls will decide major policy changes. And this is one such example, I guess. You have my takeaway from this is, wouldn't it be amazing if other companies, any other companies, any at all, did anything like this ever? I have to say, I love this aspect of his personality and his radical, mind blowing sort of democracy, transparency in real time. I like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
Did he
yes,
announce that
but
he's going to step
Tyler,
down?
Huh?
yeah.
Did he announce that he's
Well,
going to step down after this
no, he's
result?
still in Qatar, but he said that he was, and he always has obeyed these polls.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, who is going to take over Twitter? And
Uh-oh.
then my
J. Cal?
next question, yeah, probably
No
JCal.
one.
And then my next question um, is it too late? And then my next question after that is, do we want a fully uh, a fully democratic vote on absolutely everything
No,
in
no, no,
in government
no, no, no.
instead?
I
No, we
w-
want only people with blue checks voting, don't we?
that's
Yeah, right. But
hilarious.
we don't want. But no. But see, what we don't want is to
But
be
you know this is
governed by
coming.
a
You know that's
series
coming.
of Twitter polls.
Right, but you know that's going to happen. Like polls will only now be votable.
Verified
Everyone can see
people.
them, but only people with blue checks should be able to participate, and
Right.
that's going to add to your willingness to pay for to be part of Twitter Blue or whatever.
I'd
So
like to comment that I paid 2 weeks ago, whatever the day was that it launched, for Twitter Blue because I try everything once and I wanted to see how it was. And I still haven't gotten my blue check.
If the
that's
verification
But
process for getting or for allowing you to know who's a human and who isn't is actually like truly viable, then I sense that it could work for multiple platforms outside of Twitter because
that's a great
most
point.
general people are scared of AI now and who's a bot and who isn't a bot. So that's becoming more of a public census than where it was when we were talking about this about a year ago. So
I
I
agree,
see
but how
this
long
going
does
up.
it take? How long does it take to verify an 81 year
This is
old
the thing.
woman?
No, well,
Right.
no,
There's
you're
enough
right
people
in that
voting
individual
there.
case,
Yeah.
but like in the general cases, like let's say you wanted to start being a trader now, you have to take a picture of your passport and do all of these things. But then once you have all of that, then you are a verified person as a trader, right? So you can, so
but
that's not
Twitter is
that
not doing
hard
that
to,
ID
and that
verification.
process doesn't take more than a week, right? And
But Twitter is not doing that ID
oh,
verification,
like I'm
unfortunately.
not saying that Twitter is, but I'm saying once it gets to that
Oh, I
stage where
take it
it's
back.
viable.
This morning I have it.
Oh,
Pew pew
Well,
pew.
okay, that's
no,
great.
there are
So
Woohoo!
that, but I don't believe the
So
process
you
should
can
take
vote
more
now,
than a
Dr.
week.
Francine.
But once it's like mainstream, I think that it's going to be really viable as a public census to see who is a proper person and who isn't a proper person, right? And social media is moving away from the free model and the data siphoning model. And if we're able to do the things that we've just been talking about in this chat for quite some time, then it will be the next level of social media rather than what we have today.
remember, they don't
But I
have
have a
enough people
feeling.
working there anymore.
But I have a feeling that Tyler knows more than he can say. Tyler, are you enlisted? That's the reason why you're moving to Twitter space on 1st of January?
Please don't.
Tyler, is it Jay Cal who's going to be the next CEO?
Yeah, exactly. I think he's enlisted.
Jared Kushner.
We'll see. We'll see.
Okay, I better get my blue check.
Blue
Oh,
check.
I actually like somebody did a tweet. Where did it go? Oh, Ryanair, the airline, did a tweet saying, "Let that sink out." That's pretty funny. Okay.
Tyler, I was afraid to actually vote because I thought it might be a trick from Elon Musk to ban more accounts.
That was my
I
thing too.
voted yes.
I didn't vote. I didn't vote either for that
I
reason.
did. I voted yes, and I got my blue check this morning.
But I
But
voted for I voted for Calacanis for the next CEO.
Yeah.
That was his
I
fault.
don't believe anything like that should be truly democratic, right? Because this is running a business and $1 billion business at that, and not some, local election. It's a real big deal if it actually is democratic in that way.
This is Athenian democracy. It's like you have to be a citizen to be a part of.
Okay. There's a couple, one, two, three little daughter articles. One says Twitter backtracks and Elon Musk apologizes after saying the service would remove tweets and accounts promoting the presence uh, on Facebook, Mastodon, and others. Twitters will no longer allow users to promote their presence on certain social media, including. So Twitter backtracks and Elon apologizes after saying the service would remove tweets and accounts promoting Facebook, Mastodon, and others. So now that's been killed. And here's my point. Here's my point. Here's my point. He made a decision that people strongly opposed, vocally opposed. You can't say everybody. Lots of people did polls, and it was something like 70% of people was like, "This is a bad idea. You shouldn't do this." And a lot of intelligent, legitimate, notable geeks is a lot worse. And I would say, yeah, 70-80% of them are like, "This is a bad idea. Hey, Elon, you're awesome and everything, but this is a bad idea." This one about blocking anything to do with Facebook or Mastodon and all this. And he's now turned that around, right? According to this article, anyways. So my point, the thing I want to highlight is the speed at which these changes are happening. What takes normally companies this crazy slow cycles of you just get accustomed to how slow things go. It's just really, really, really impressive how fast changes can happen at Twitter, and that's
I think you should speak more to that as well, because I don't think people truly get how incredible the speed is of which these decisions are being made as well, because it usually takes quite
But
some time.
Tyler, on the other hand, I think it could also be very impulsive, right? It's not well thought through before he make any decision. I mean, from Japan sense of viewing at it, it's very irresponsible, especially when you're in such a role. You know how Japanese work, right? They have to think through and make sure everything is covered before they make this kind of
right.
announcement, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yes. Well, that's because Japanese fear
Exactly.
embarrassment. Same with Swedes. Both countries are very, very similar in that they're deeply introverted. They get totally wasted on the weekend to overcome their introversion, and so that they can talk to somebody of the opposite sex, they have to be completely wasted. And yet, they're just terrified of embarrassment. Both Swedes and Japanese, they have so much in common. It's crazy. And I lived in both countries for more than a year, more than multiple years. Anyway, it stuns me how similar they are. But in this case, Americans, of which Elon
Yeah.
is very American in this regard, he's super American in this regard. He is immune to embarrassment. He doesn't get embarrassed. And Donald Trump epitomizes the inability to be embarrassed. And Americans just don't feel it. We don't feel it. We don't give a shit what you think. I mean, we just don't. We'll say stupid stuff. By the way, as American myself, let me explain something that just blows Americans away. When we speak negatively of a country, any country, right? Sometimes I even say things that are negative about Japan. I just said something negative about Sweden just 20 minutes ago, and I loved Sweden, dearly. However, to an American, saying negative things about a country, and then what will happen is an American will say something negative about somebody's country, and then the person from that country will say, "Oh yeah, well America did some negative things too," and the American will say, "Is that all you have?" Because I can go on for months about the negative shit in America, and I do regularly, because that's what we do as Americans, and all you can complain about is one weird policy that one person did about guns or some bullshit like that. Let me help you out. because you're missing 99% of the crazy, insane shit that America does, and we know it better than you ever could, and we are constantly railing about it endlessly. So your attempt to try and embarrass me by insulting my country means fucking not. Welcome to the party. Here's a beer. Have a seat. Here's the microphone. Go, buddy. Go for an hour if you can, because that's what we do here. So good luck trying to embarrass me by saying something negative about my country. Like, that doesn't embarrass me. That makes me want to go have lunch with you. So that's why we are immune to embarrassment, because we constantly are drilling on each other's weaknesses in a very intense way that is not done in every country. It's done in other countries, but not every country. So anyway, it's always fun for Americans traveling abroad when you meet someone from a country where you're not allowed to speak negatively about their country or whatever. Where I happen to live in one of those. Anyway, Twitter supports Thread and policy webpage detailing its new policy to prevent accounts from promoting other social media platforms. So, related point. After Elon Musk said polls will decide major new policies, Twitter Safety posts a poll on whether accounts primarily promoting other platforms should be allowed. Right. And Elon said, my apologies, we should have done that as a vote, blah, blah, blah. So, anyway, I just love the speed with which they're moving, because if they maintain that pace and apply that pace to product innovation and new features and products and services, then watch the fuck out. Watch out. Because the only thing that really kept Twitter back, well, one of the main criticism of Twitter over the past decade or since its birth was just how incredibly lethargic and the just almost insanely slow pace
Well,
with which it innovated.
isn't this agile development where you iterate and try it out, and then if it doesn't work, iterate again? Isn't this like the major principle of software development?
I think there's a problem here, though, because the European Union has regulations against those sorts of things. So I think, for example, if you make a decision this hastily without necessarily checking the laws, I think there was an issue here that Twitter could be fined up to a certain percentage of its revenue if it doesn't allow other social networks, right? So I think that's an interesting kind of
But why
consequence
does
of
the
trying to go fast.
European Union even have a say in this? You know,
Well, what Eric's referring to is the EU has a GDPR-like
oh, I
policy
know.
called the market policy, and it was designed for Amazon, really. And what it was designed around was to prevent Amazon from promoting itself as the best product for socks or anything that you buy on Amazon, right? Diapers, and Amazon's promoting its own services. And as a market, it's called the Digital Market Act, the DMA. So Europe says, hey, if you're a digital market, wink, wink, Amazon, you have to play fairly with the other products and services in the market. You can't give yourself preference, and you can't block out ones that you don't like. And what Eric is potentially correct, but potentially wrong about, is does that apply to Twitter blocking out competitors? It might not apply at all. It depends on how you read the
Yeah, and just
legalese of it.
fighting that might be so expensive, or trying to go up against that it's not worth the trouble, right? So I think that's the concern.
Right. It depends. It's an interesting thought. Does the Digital Market Act of you have to allow competitors in your market? I don't know that the Twitter as a media qualifies as a market in the way that the DMA is designed. Just as the definitions and how they define the
Yeah,
terms and
folks
Yeah,
the
they'll
were
be
definitions of
reviewing
what is
it
a
for
market.
years, and in the meantime, Elon has moved on.
a few groups were debating it on Twitter
Anyway,
Spaces over the weekend, so that's why I kind of brought it up because it was an interesting
yeah,
consideration.
it's totally an interesting thought. So Epic Games agrees to pay the FTC $520 million to resolve two complaints over allegedly breaking kids' online privacy rules and tricking users into unintended purchases. Okay. Binance US agrees to acquire Voyager Digital's assets out of bankruptcy in a deal worth $1 billion. Reuters done some analysis. Binance's filings in 14 jurisdictions show its operations are mostly opaque. Yeah, well, we knew that. Do not disclose where Binance.com is based. Yeah, that's kind of fundamental to his whole scheme. Offer little data and more. Because it's kind of, and I feel like he's very intentional in not having a base. And there's even jokes going around about how Elon doesn't have a base either. You can't, the FBI can't come and do a home arrest on somebody who's homeless. And there was a hilarious tweet saying, making a mockery of mainstream media, saying homeless man buys Twitter for $44 million, like because he's homeless or whatever. Anyway, but yeah, CZ's intentionally trying to tap dance around not having a base, and because countries can't figure out how to police you when you don't have a base. I know this very well because for many, many years, I did not have a residence. I was technically homeless. I had one bag. I would stay in one country for 1 month and then go to the next one and the next one. I did that for 3 years. Where the hell's my base? I have no fucking idea. Countries don't like that. They cannot figure that out, how to deal with you legally as a non-resident of any country, as a permanent tourist. That concept doesn't exist in any country's playbook. So it falls between the chairs, as they say in Sweden. So Binance says that Deloitte, EY, KPMG, and PwC, those are the 4 big accounting firms, by the way, are currently unwilling to conduct audits on private crypto companies. Binance's BNB token drops 9% over the past month, even as Bitcoin remains steady after record outflows. Okay, Meta CTO, this is a big story, Andrew Bosworth, says the company plans to devote 20% of its overall costs and expenses to Reality Labs in 2023, up from 18% in Q3. That's not the story I thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to be the story about Carmack resigning. Thank you, Eric. Which he is perhaps next to Bosworth, one of the most senior people in the whole space there, and stepping out is
Yeah, the
not a
guy who
that's not a
basically
good sign at
invented the
all
first person shooter
for the.
engine made code that was so good that it became hardware, didn't actually go to school to be trained for it, then revolutionized VR by partnering with some high school kid who had a crazy prototype, and then they pitched it into $1 billion business, and now it might be the next computing platform. He's like, nah, I'm going to move on to something else. The things that he's looking at, though, are exciting because NLP, as it's taking off now, well, has John Carmack at the center of it. So I'm just expecting awesome shit to happen either way. Sad for VR, great for Chat GPT.
The European Commission sends Meta a statement of objection for possible antitrust breaches over tying Marketplace to Facebook and imposing unfair trading terms. So it sounds like the European Commission would prefer Facebook Marketplace was not tied to Facebook. They were hit with a complaint from the EU antitrust watchdogs over concern it's unfairly squeezing what? It says squeezing ... Unfairly squeezing unfairly squeezing out classified ad rivals by tying the Facebook Marketplace to its own social network. Well, what did you expect them to do? The European Commission said Monday it issued a so-called statement of objections. Of course, it's going to tie Marketplace to Facebook. It's just a feature inside of Facebook. It's not a standalone product per se. Here's a quote: "With its Facebook social network, Meta reaches globally billions of monthly users and millions active I think it means millions of active advertisers." According to Margaret Vestager, the Danish lady who kind of oversees all of this antitrust stuff in the EU. Quote, our preliminary concern is that Meta ties its dominant social network Facebook to its online classified ad services called Facebook Marketplace. Yeah, no shit. That's you don't what one wouldn't the marketplace wouldn't exist without they never would have conjured it up without tying into Facebook. The
But
guy came in
Charlie,
and this gentleman came in and bought tires and then he put them on his car. Yeah, no shit, he put them on his fucking car. That's the whole fucking point.